I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about having a plan so you can have your baby in 2023. We are approaching the end of the year, and I wanted to talk about the 8 mistakes we typically see with people that are on the fertility journey with low AMH and high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian failure, what people are missing, and then how do we then improve our chances of pregnancy success. Excited for you to listen to today's episode. And we want to give you a plan as you prepare to have your baby in 2023. Let's go. Okay, so we're going to give you the 8 factors that we see some common mistakes that people make when they're on the fertility journey. And we are supporting couples with low AMH and high FSH, diminished ovarian reserve, and premature ovarian insufficiency. So typically, most of those people have been told that IVF is their only option. We're helping them get pregnant naturally, or if they do need to go to the clinic, getting pregnant with their own eggs. So, factor number one, or mistake number one, we see is focusing only on the AMH. And remember that AMH is not a predictor of pregnancy success. We've helped couples with AMH as low as 0.04 get pregnant naturally, and also couples with AMH of 0.02 not having had a period for years. The period comes back online, the hormones come back online, and lo and behold, there's these missed healing opportunities that no one dug into, just focused on the 0.02 AMH and thinking that you'll never get pregnant. And so it's really important to remember that AMH is not a predictor of pregnancy success. There's a PubMed article that talks about this, actually, the National Library of Medicine. So the predictive accuracy of anti-Müllerian hormone AMH for live birth after assisted conception is a systematic review and meta-analysis of the literature. And so it tells us here, so the anti-Müllerian hormone is an established marker of ovarian reserve and a good predictor of poor or excessive ovarian response after controlled hyperstimulation. However, it is unclear whether it can predict the ultimate outcome of assisted conception live birth. So we undertook a systematic review and meta-analysis to examine whether AMH is a predictor of live birth in women undergoing assisted conception. And they found out that AMH, independently of age, has some association with predicting live birth after assisted conception and may be helpful when counseling couples before undergoing fertility treatment. However, its predictive accuracy is poor. So literally, I know, like, when we get that diagnosis of the AMH being very, very low, it can feel that our chances are very, very low. And it's just to say that we have seen couples with extremely low AMH get pregnant naturally, and studies showing that is a poor predictor of pregnancy success. So again, we've got to dig deeper and look, what are those missed healing opportunities that conventional medicine, no one has looked at. We just had a recent person where she's worked with us for about 6 or 7 months, and her AMH was at 0.03. And now, after making all the changes, and she had blood sugar dysregulation, adrenal insufficiency, thyroid dysfunction, mineral deficiencies, vaginal microbiome imbalance, and chronic stress. And her AMH is now at 0.20. And so lots of other success stories that we have where people coming to us with multiple failed IVFs before they come to work with us, being told that donor eggs are their only option, and now getting pregnant with their own eggs. So focusing on the AMH just takes you away from actually addressing those missed healing opportunities in your body. So mistake number one. Mistake number two would be only relying on hormone replacement. So typically for hormone replacement therapy. So typically for low AMH and high FSH, you may have been recommended HRT or potentially bioidentical hormones. And so this can be part of your solution. But what we see is many people are on the hormone replacement therapy, but then no one has done the targeted diet and lifestyle changes. Or we also see that people are doing some diet and lifestyle changes. Maybe they've cleaned up their diet, thrown out the toxins, working on their stress, but then they may need bioidentical hormones to help kickstart kickstart your hormones and but for some reason, they're hesitant to take the hormones. They want to do it naturally. Sometimes the body does need hormones to kickstart this process. So we have, as part of our Fab Fertile Method, we have an OBGYN, and she's triple board certified in obstetrics, gynecology, functional medicine, and menopause. And she's part of our case reviews. So sometimes we will do the functional testing and the diet and lifestyle changes first, depending how the person's feeling. Sometimes, they may be feeling really, really poor. And so they may need to have some bioidentical hormones, because this can really impact your mood. We see a lot of people coming in a lot of mood issues, feeling irritable or very anxious, or experiencing a lot of hot flashes. And all of this can really impact your ability to even start making these changes. So this is a very personalized approach, depending on, what's right for you. So it's either two things, where we see someone taking the hormone replacement therapy. Maybe they're not taking the bioidenticals, so they're taking ones that actually we wouldn't recommend. So we're recommending. There's a whole podcast episode I did on bioidenticals and why we're looking at those rather than a synthetic form of hormone replacement. So definitely check that out. So they're either just taking the hormone replacements, not making the targeted diet and lifestyle changes, not addressing any infections or other biochemical imbalances, or they have started to make some of those diet and lifestyle changes, and they sort of are hesitant to do the bioidenticals. And so it's important to see, what's right for your body. But doing the hormones alone is not recommended. You want to make sure you're having someone, you want a practitioner to be reviewing this, checking your levels, and making sure, everything is right for your body. So looking at just hormone replacement therapy or not doing it, resisting it, that's one of the mistakes we see with people on the fertility journey, typically with low AMH and high FSH. And then mistake number 3 we see is not really looking at the menstrual cycle. So I think all of us are tracking. Maybe we're charting. Maybe we have an app. But really, really understanding cervical mucus, your basal body temperature, irregularities, how our lifestyle can impact our cycle. And then also people that have very irregular cycles, they may get frustrated with these apps, or get frustrated with the actual tracking. So it's really important to understand how to track your cycle and what it means. It's a vital sign for your health. So I've done an episode actually on how to track your cycle, so you can check that out and really what that means for your fertility. So we see people missing this piece, and then it really will miss signs that can help you then start to balance your hormones. And as part of the understanding your menstrual cycle, many of us, we weren't taught this in school. No one's taught you to understand what the menstrual cycle even means for your health. My menstrual cycle went away in my early 20s, and I thought it was a good idea because I didn't have to worry about it. Obviously, that was a problem. Something was going on with my health there. So really understanding the menstrual cycle, having part of our Fab Fertile Method, our practitioners are trained to interpret and understand the menstrual cycle to give us clues for us to dig deeper of what's been missed, and how to start balancing your hormones and how to start preparing your body for conception. And then also as part of this, we will look at your hormones to track to see what's happening with your hormones. And so we use Inito, INITO, fertility tracker, and that will track estrogen, LH, FSH, and it also confirms if you actually ovulate by measuring progesterone. So most ovulation tests can only predict your fertile days. So and you can use code Fab Fertile 15, so FABFERTILE 15 to save 15% on the Inito, and we'll have that in the show notes. But this is part of our program where we use the fertility tracker because we had a lot of people running out. We want them to get monthly blood work, and that can be it can be time consuming to go and get this monthly blood work. So this is done using urine, and can really have a good can really give us some good insight as to how your hormones are reacting each month. And then we can then interpret that and then be able to help you make these targeted diet and lifestyle changes to help improve this. So it's important to understand your menstrual cycle with charting, having someone interpret what that means, and using a fertility tracker to look at your hormone levels, looking at ovulation, and being able to pull this all together. Many times people are just, again, focusing on the diagnosis, running to IVF, pumping their body full of medication, and no one's actually looked at, well, why is your cycle irregular? Why are you spotting? Why are your temperatures inconsistent? What exactly is happening with your cycle and what's happening with your hormones each month? Are there stressors, lifestyle factors that are impacting that? Do you have gut infections? Is there what else is going on? And then the next one we have, number 4, and I've talked about this before, but it does bear repeating, is following generalized recommendations. So many people there's a lot of information out there on books and podcasts and blogs about what to do to improve your fertility superfoods, fertility, fertility diets, all kinds of supplements on the market. Are those diet supplements recommendations, are they right for you? You can do a whole DIY approach to this, but is it wasting your time and your money? People are taking fertility herbs, fertility teas, and really, you're spending a lot of money on that and hoping this is going to work, but we haven't dug deeper to look to see what's a personalized approach for you. So using functional lab testing, the latest in functional lab, cutting edge functional lab testing that your conventional doctor just won't have. So looking at stool testing and addressing infections and being able to see, what exactly is going on with your hormones and what has been missed. So, following those recommendations may be good at the very beginning, but if you've, been trying for 2 years, you've already had at least one failed IVF, now is the time to really dig into this. And the DIY approach can only work for so long. Obviously, I've been running this podcast almost for 5 years, and we've got people reaching out to us that have just made some of the suggestions on our podcast, on this podcast, and they've got pregnant. But if you're here right now, and it's 2022, we're planning for our baby in 2023, now is the time to stop the DIY and really take that personalized approach using testing so you can have a plan and exactly know exactly how this can improve your chances of success. So I'll just share with you a success story. Had a couple. So she had 1 tube, 1 ovary. It was secondary infertility. She had low AMH and high FSH. She had endometriosis. She followed our Fab Fertile Method. And we addressed gut infections, mineral deficiencies, thyroid imbalance, and more. And she made all the changes and she got to work and followed the plan. And then within 7 months, she went back to the clinic just to make sure, because she was concerned about her other ovary and other fallopian tube, and found out that she was actually pregnant naturally. So that was in 7 months. So our average success rate is around 12 to 18 months. But it's, if things like stories like that, hopefully that can, show you or motivate you to know that there is hope when you've got, those, the fertility clinic will tell you things are very, I've had people say to me that, they've been recommended an aggressive IVF, which doing something in an aggressive manner when you're trying to bring in your child, just sort of counterintuitive. So it's really important before, either you'll get pregnant naturally, or when you do go to the clinic, it'll actually work. So those generalized recommendations just waste time. And then number 5, just focusing on the testing. So we work with a lot of type A busy professionals, like, give me the plan, let's go. I'm super excited to get this going. But the testing is only part of it. So the testing is what we do in the beginning. And we typically will do, stool testing, looking at the DNA of your stool. We're going to do a genetic testing, different from the genetic testing that you would have got at your fertility clinic. This is a female hormone panel, going into glucose, going into how you methylate, going into your FSH to see if there's a genetic SNP in there, looking at your thyroid markers and more. And it's not to say, here's all your genetic variants or genetic mutations. It's to say, then what are the specific diet and lifestyle and supplement recommendations to actually support those genes? So that very personalized approach. So stool, genetics, food sensitivity testing using blood. You want to make sure that, there's no perfect food sensitivity test. It's a snapshot in time, but how do we reduce the inflammation in your body from food that's coming in and then heal the gut? And most of the foods, unless they were super high, you'll be able to reintroduce. But for the time being, calm down the inflammation, because if your body's under attack, it wants to survive, not procreate. And then throughout the program, we may recommend additional testing, looking at heavy metals or nutrient imbalances using hair, the vaginal microbiome testing. I've done an episode on that as well on the podcast. We see a lot of people that have recurrent bacterial vaginosis or UTIs or thrush or miscarriage. And anyone on the fertility journey, really, how is the health of your vaginal microbiome? It is key as you prepare for pregnancy success. So, and then also we're tracking hormones using the Anido and also blood chemistry review. So the testing is great. It is like the foundation of our program, making these change, but also it's important. So we take a mind, body, spirit approach with this. And so we have many people, if they've been told, IVF is your only option, or, you will struggle. This is not going to work, low AMH or high FSH. And you may not trust the process. You may not actually be able to believe that you can get pregnant. You may have had, and a theme we see, and it's not fun to look at this, is trauma, either trauma from the diagnosis itself or trauma going back to childhood trauma, early adulthood. But unaddressed trauma can then impact your stress levels. And if you're all the way up there in the fight or flight, we want to get you into parasympathetic. And so we have specific stress management tools to help you quickly do that. So trauma, it does have to be addressed. So we, as part of our program, we have a referral network of therapists and EMDR and EFT, which is tapping, which will help to identify trauma and move it out of the body. So that has got to be addressed. So it's important to look at the testing, address the biochemical side of things, but also equally important for us to look at the mental, emotional side of things. Because if we're doing the test and you're super stressed and not trusting the process and not believing it's actually going to work, that doesn't serve you. So just focusing on the testing just waste time is a mistake that we see. Number 6 is going to a local functional medicine practitioner who does not specialize in fertility. So we work with fertility day in and day out. This is what our team is trained to do. We're all trained in the Fab Fertile Method, functional testing and functional nutrition, mindset, health coaching, to really help you identify those mind, body, spirit stressors and help you then prepare for pregnancy success. So if you're just with a local functional medicine practitioner, they may just be focused on testing. They may not know the unique issues that someone on the fertility journey could experience. So when you're on the fertility journey, this can impact all aspects of your life, from your social life to your relationship with your partner. Most of the couples that we work with are very much in love and want to have their baby. There's a percentage that this journey has really been very tough on their relationship. And so maybe it could be just all about baby making, and intimacy may have suffered. We may be feeling angry at our partner. A lot of that, if there's issues with your relationship, it's really, really important to address that. And a local functional medicine practitioner is just that's out of their scope. And that's why we include mindset and fertility coaching in this, to really help with your relationship, your mental health, your mental emotional stressors, whatever they may be, your job, if you're in a job that no longer serves you because you've stayed there longer than you wanted to because you thought you'd be pregnant and going on mat leave. And maybe you're stressed with the job, which we see that a lot. Maybe the relationship right now, it's tough. You and your partner may be struggling. Or even if you are on the same page, how do you then get back to like joy and intimacy. And it's not just all about baby making, it's about love making and you really enjoying each other. Because again, this can take up your whole life and feel like everything's on, that you're on hold, that you're stuck while everyone else moves on. So it's really important to work with a team of practitioners that understand. We can never, understand exactly what you're going through, but typically we've all, walked the walk, and it's not perfect by any means, but being able to, being able to be on the other side of this, so then we can help you see a path forward. So having those specific mindset and stress management tools to help you identify the stress and then work your way through it. Many times we're just like, I'm fine. Everything's good. I can do this. That was me. Like, I didn't even think I was stressed when I was on the fertility journey. So it's really important to address all of it, not all at once. That's why we have a plan. We trickle this in through it, during a period of time. And next thing you know, small changes every day amount to huge change over time, and you get pregnant. So that's number 6. Number 7 is forgetting about the foundational pillars of health. We want to rush forward to maybe you want to rush forward to doing the testing. We want to rush, we may feel that we've got to do IVF right now. But how do we work on the basics, working on a diet that's right for you and personalized for you, that, it's not having inflammatory foods for you coming in every day, working on your sleep. Like we talked about this last week in our clinical mastermind. It is your job to prioritize your sleep. And I know if you're dealing with secondary infertility, you may have a little one and that can be challenging, but still to be able to, to do your best there and to recognize, where you may need help. But we see a lot of people with insomnia or waking up in the middle of the night or waking up exhausted. All of this, like, sleep is key for your hormones. So you want to make sure that you are addressing that. So working on your sleep, working on movement. Now is not the time to train for a marathon, nor is it the time to put your feet up on the couch and not move. So you want to move each day, but not too much and not too little. And then the next one would be, you want to work on your stress, either like we just talked about, either from your job, your relationship, from other people around you. You may feel triggered by pregnancy announcements, by baby showers, by other people. So that comparison thing can be a slippery slope. So being able to recognize that and say, you know what, when I go and spend time with that person with the children, it really triggers me, and I can only stay for a short period of time. Eventually you may be able to, when you see a pregnant woman, not feel jealous, angry, resentful, that you can say, that will be me one day. And the moment you start trying, you already are a parent. So the working on the foundations, the foundational pillars is key, because you cannot out supplement a poor diet, a bad relationship, a job that no longer serves you. How do you reframe some of those things? It's not about quitting the job, although sometimes you may need to leave, but it's about how do you reframe the current job you're in, that, it's serving me right now as I prepare for my baby. So some reframing and mindset support around that. So it's important to look at those foundational pieces, and then as we bring in the testing, and then we look at the other sides of things, looking, identifying, developing a protocol for you. We can start looking at those other things we're talking about: the right diet, the right movement, the right sleep, the right and addressing those stressors. And then number 8, the one we see all the time actually, is going to IVF too early. So most people that we work with, they have either tried naturally for 2 years or had at least one failed or multiple failed IVFs. Before coming to work with us, they've been labeled a poor responder. They've had failed cycles, canceled cycles. They may have experienced miscarriage. And all of that can be extremely heartbreaking, financially, a financial strain. But then no one's dug deeper. No one's dug deeper to address these missed healing opportunities as to why it hasn't worked. And it's not just about looking at you with a low AMH and high FSH, premature ovarian insufficiency, or diminished ovarian reserve. It's also looking at your partner. 50% of infertility is male factor fertility. So, maybe his semen analysis is fine, but maybe it's not. And so, how do we make sure that he is making these changes together? Because it's not just about you over here, eating this clean diet, making all these changes, and he's over here having beer and pizza. Now, we find like 90% of men are extremely supportive and are motivated to make their changes. I never recommend coaching your partner. That just leads to you being ticked off, you nagging, and that's just not good for your relationship. He has his own goals and a coach to help him make those changes, and so he knows what he has to do. You have your plan, and you know what you need to do, and so you can both then do this together. Even though you'll have separate plans, you do it together to form a strong foundation for your family. So it's going to IVF, pumping your body full of medication without making all these targeted changes beforehand. It just does not make sense. It's like the foundation is not secure. Why hasn't it worked? Why we want to avoid for you being labeled a poor responder or having a failed cycle or having miscarriage. We want to work on those stressors, such as gut infections or environmental toxins or mineral deficiencies or adrenal insufficiency or thyroid dysfunction or blood sugar dysregulation. These are some of the themes we see with low AMH. So going to IVF too early can just be it can be a costly and heartbreaking adventure. So we want to make sure we set you up for success. So we've had many people that come to us. I'll share one story with you. So she had 3 failed IVFs before coming to work with us. She was told that donor eggs were her only option. Her FSH was always in the 80s. She had diminished ovarian reserve, told nothing would work. And she got to work with her partner, made the changes. We found huge food sensitivities for her. And again, most of the food you can eventually bring back in. Some of them, if they were too high, you can't. Mineral deficiencies, heavy metals, gut infections, and more. And then lo and behold, after 6 months, her FSH came down to a 7. And then she saw her RE. RE said, look, first of all, he said, it's a miracle that this has happened. And we're like, yes, it is a miracle. But, she did the work. Her and her partner did the work together to be able to see these changes. It's not just plucked out of the sky. She made a lot of, targeted diet and lifestyle changes. And then so she did an IVF, and on the next one it worked, and she just had her baby boy. So lots of things to do to optimize pregnancy success. Like working on your health with your partner is always a good idea. Rushing to the clinic, I know may feel like it's there and you want to just rush. It's sort of like, how do you take the time now to optimize your health so then you can have either get pregnant naturally, or if you do go to IVF, it'll actually work. So our Fab Fertile method, like we talked about, it has includes functional testing. We have access to functional testing, like we're talking about food, stool, genetics, hair, vaginal microbiome, blood chemistry review. And so that gives you that targeted protocol. So you've got the testing, we use the testing to develop your protocol. And then we have coaching to actually help you implement these changes, because you can get the testing, whoop-de-doo, here it is. I've had this before where here's the testing, and now I'm like, now what do I do? I don't even know how to make these changes. So then we have coaching with fertility and mindset coaching to actually help you implement the changes. Because sometimes we can have a plan, but then it's like, oh, my life is busy. I got stuff I got to do over here, and we might not know how to actually implement it. So we help with self-sabotage, accountability, and it's not about beating you up as to why you didn't do it. It's kind of, well, you set this goal. Well, why didn't it happen? And we can dig into that piece. And that's where the trauma or not being, maybe you don't even believe it's possible. Maybe that RE has told you that you will struggle, and that's like embedded in your subconscious. So how do you then start listening to your voice, to your intuition, that that your body wants to heal, that your body wants to get pregnant, and being able to implant a new voice, which is yours, to be able to see a positive path forward. So it's really the plan with the nutrition coach is key because you've got the protocol and the plan. And then also you need the mindset and the fertility coaching side of things to be able to help you and your partner be able to work through this, and using specific stress management tools that's going to help you move out of that, cortisol over to the DHEA side of thing, where you're not in that fight or flight, you are in the parasympathetic. And that's when the baby comes in. And then so at the end of the program, you'll either be happily pregnant, or if you do need to go to the fertility clinic, you're going to dramatically improve your chances of success because you have optimized your health. So we have an average success rate of about 12 to 18 months making these changes. So this is a 6-month couples coaching program. Then after the 6 months, you'll be automatically enrolled into our monthly program. And really, it's to optimize yourself for a baby. So if it's 2022 right now when I'm recording this, and if you need a plan to fast track your chances of pregnancy success, that 2023 is the year you're going to have your baby, you want to have a plan that includes testing and is a really mind, body, spirit approach with your partner, and addressing those stressors so you can get pregnant naturally. Or if you go to the clinic, it'll actually work. We specialize in tough cases like low AMH, high FSH, premature ovarian insufficiency, diminished ovarian reserve, people that have been told by the conventional medicine that donor eggs are your only option, and we're helping them get pregnant naturally. Like we talked about, as low as an AMH is as low as 0.04 getting pregnant. Lots of success stories to help inspire you that, if it's possible for someone else, it's possible for you. And so if this resonates with you and you are ready to take action, you're seriously ready to start working with us, all you need to do is go to fabfertile.com and click on apply here. And you click on a link there and apply here. We'll have the link in the show notes as well. And we'll see if you are a good fit for the program. So take care.